Hey, Don.
Oh, hi.
Um, I
Are we live?
yes, I
Are
think I
we
don't. Hey, chat, are we live?
are we live? Nobody's gonna let me know, so I'm gonna pretend that we're live. It's 1 p.m. for me. That's live. We're going live. We'll do it live.
Ramon is here. Karen, maybe.
If that
um,
I'm going for it. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to Netlify Remote Desk. This is our first live stream going over some really exciting demos with some of the best people you'll ever meet. E-meet. It's weird. We don't meet in person anymore, really, right? Like that's not a thing still. I don't know. Maybe it is. We're going to be going over some demos. We're going to be talking about some of the releases that came out of Netlify. And before we get too deep into that, let's do some introductions. I'm going to let Taylor introduce herself before me.
okay.
First is the
Hey,
best.
I'm Taylor. I'm on the product team at Netlify, and I'm really excited to be here to talk about some of the things that have launched and released and see the live demos the next 45 hour, however long, because we're going to be open to questions. So if anybody wants to throw things in Q&A, feel free to do that. And I'll let Dom introduce himself.
Thank you so much. Number one, it is so exciting to share the stage with you because we've never gotten to do a lot together throughout our careers, and now we're you're forced to do things with me. So I'm really excited to see that. My name is Demetrius. I work on the developer education team here at Netlify. Previous Netlifyer, back again. So excited to be working with some of my favorite people in the industry. And yeah, definitely hit the Q&A if anybody has questions. We'll get to them. We'll be able to collect them and make sure they get to. If it's for any of the demoers, we'll collect them and make sure that they see them. And then if it's other questions just about Netlify or any of the releases as well, we'll get into the chat and make sure you're answered there. So what do you think, Taylor? Do we just without further ado, get into the demos?
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, so we're gonna have Manuel come up on stage, and Dom will talk with him first.
Okay, bye, Taylor.
Hi there.
Manuel, thank you so much for coming up. So first and foremost, I'd love to give you the stage, give us a slight introduction, what demo you're going to be doing today, and then yeah, I'll just kind of get out of your way.
Yeah, so glad to be here. So actually, this is my first live stream ever. So let's see how that goes. And I'll be showing off some basic things of what I'm working on with Tanner Lindsley, on what we're building 10 Stack Start. And it will be really a basic introduction. So just some nice small features. It's really huge what we're building. So I'm just showing some small things here, some things that I like, and I'm giving you also a sneak peek of what we're building right now, how we're enhancing what we're building. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I just wanted to point out, it has to be so cool working with Tanner. He's one of my favorite people in the industry. I always bother him and stick around him way too long when we're at conferences. So super excited to see him getting out into the world, this project starting to move. And yeah, I'm excited to see the feature. So let me get out of the way and I'll leave the demo to you.
Yeah, great. So let's see what I need to find my screen here. So, alrighty. So you see, yeah, I guess you see what I'm doing. So, okay, so I'm just showing up some very basic things now. What we're building with 10 Stack Start. So 10 Stack Start is our full stack JavaScript framework that we're building based on 10 Stack Router. And yeah, I'm just showing some things that are cool. And the most prominent thing that we're building is the server function feature, which allows you to just define a function so that it runs on the server. And you can invoke it from the server, you can invoke it from the client. It always runs on the server. And it's
hey, Manuel,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Currently, we only see the backstage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
This is how we do it live. You did nothing wrong. It's my fault. Blame me.
Oh.
I'm going to stay here with you until you get the screen that you want to see and give you some buffer time.
Yeah, okay, yeah, great. Now I'm just wanted to share the whole window. Oh no, the full screen. That's the thing. Yeah, right. Okay, so now back again. So let me know if now working.
I see code. If
cool.
you could
if
you could bump the font a little bit, that would be great, and I will leave you to it.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, great, good. So we're in a very basic example of 10 Stack Start, which is our introductory example. And it's just doing one thing, which is it has a file on the server and you can write to that file from the client. And the thing that's interesting here is that the only thing you need to do to communicate between client and server and invoke a function on the server is to wrap the function you want to run on the server into a handler we call create server function. And we do this a few times here. So we have like a read from that file and write to that file. And then you can actually invoke functions to run on the server. And this is how it looks like. Let's just quickly go to the right thing here. Okay, so this is just very basic. So we have a button, and whenever you click that button, what we're actually doing is we're sending requests to the server, and then the server actually writes to the file. So let's quickly check the file. So we're here in that, we have a file here. Let me read a note. Oops. And there's a file, and it has currently the count 9. And whenever I click the button, this one is updated. And what's making the magic happen is this create server function. And inside of that, we actually have basic node functionality. So you write to a file and you read from a file, and whatever you want to do on the server, you can just do inside of there. And what we do, as we can define everything in one file here. So you have the server function here, you have the component that has the button here. Everything is defined in one single file. You can split it up whatever you want. So, and when you run this, we compile it into 2 distant things. So one part is run on the server, one part is run on the client. And at runtime, we connect these 2 things. And the nice thing, all of this is type safe, of course, because that's what we believe in, like 100% type safety. And what we also made sure is that you need to validate what you're sending to the server. So you send the number 1 to the server here. I mean, this is a simple example, but everything that comes from the client, you need to validate on server. You cannot trust it. Client can always manipulate stuff, and you need to validate it. So if you just use the standard React way of invoking server actions or server functions, whatever they call it nowadays, you don't have validation in place. You just call a function, you kind of, need to handle this manually. And we built this in here, and you have a validator here, and you can either write this by hand, or, and this is really cool, you can just use existing functionalities like sort. So, and if you use sort, let's just import that here. Or any other supported validation libraries, such as Valibot or Archetype. And you can just say, I want to make this sure that at runtime, this is really validated. Let's just say this is a number. So, and what you see here, now I have a number, and when I pass in something incorrect, we would get a runtime error. We will see this right now. And still, so we pass in a 1 here, we can pass in a 4. But if I pass in something wrong here, then I get a compile time error, which tells you this is not a number. And if I actually run this, we will also get a server error. So let's see if I do this. So let's do this. Ooh, it's not updating. Let's quickly head to the network tab, and let's see what's happening here. So I hit this here, and you see I get a 500 turn back, and this says me validation failed. So it's not happening. So it's validating this. So, and the cool thing is now, what do we want to, let's say we say this is an optional number. We can just say it's like, if we don't pass it in, let's default this to 1, right? Could be something else, but let's default this to 1. And the cool thing now is we get the type based out of that, what we define here as a schema. We can just now say, okay, I don't call this with anything here because it's defaulting to 1. So let's do it again. So now I need to reload this. And wait, life. Let me quickly check. Okay, so, and let's remove the default again. So I say I actually want a number to be passed in, and then it tells me, you need to pass in some number here. So okay, I need to do it again. So, and the cool thing is, so we can actually infer the input type of that schema and the output type of that schema, so that we know what we need to pass in and what we get out of there. So we always get out a number, but we not always need to pass in a number if we like do the default here. And this is made possible because of a thing that is called the standard schema, which is a effort of some validation libraries to have a runtime and compile time interface for all of these validation libraries, so that they all can be treated equally without us having to like wrap this into some adaptive code. And it makes it possible to be very lean here with defining schemas, for example, in Subbot or the other libraries that are supported by standard schema, and you just plug them in and we do the rest. So that's a cool feature. So you let me know how much time I have, because I don't actually know. I can just keep on talking because we have cool stuff happening, but give me some feedback of how much time we have, right? You're still there? Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so I think like for the most part, we probably have a couple more minutes if there's anything else that you wanted to show off. But if you're happy, we're happy, and I do have a question for you. If you want to jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, I just one thing, because I just glossed over this, because people who might not know 10-stack start, we base this on 10-stack router, which is a fully type safe client-side router, and which takes care of the client-side routing. And just one thing which I find really cool, maybe many people maybe know this, maybe some don't know, we have dev tools here. So I'm in a different project now here, and we do have some dev tools which allow you to, at development time, look into the router. So what's in there, like the internal state of it. You can check which routes have been defined, what's the route tree hierarchy. So if anything goes wrong and you say, that's weird, what's happening, then you can check just in a graphical way here, what's the route tree without having to dive into code, and check what's currently matched, what's rendered, what's the params, what's the data. And that's just cool. And that's, I mean, you just need to play with that and actually build an actual project so that you see how valuable this is, that you have dev tools here, which give you really a X-ray vision into that current state of the router. So that's just one more thing I wanted to share.
And for people that are coming from React Query, like this was one of my favorite things when React Query started making its rounds, was like being able to see the flow of the data in all of its states visually, instead of having to piece together different places in which I can find these states. Exactly. That was such a huge unlock for me when I started with React Query. So it's so cool to see this at the router level.
Right.
Cool. So
show you a question.
Yeah, so we actually got one question in the chat. Is there an estimated timeline for when the authentication documentation will be available for 10-stack start?
So currently we're doing so what I wanted to hint at. So we're currently moving off the framework that we based on, which is called Vinci, and this is an ongoing effort. So we're currently prioritizing this for and foremost because we don't want to write documentation for stuff that will be outdated soon. So hopefully, like this is, I mean, we have been estimating this for like 2, 3, at most 4 more weeks. And after that, we have an API that hopefully is as stable as it gets, so that then makes sense to documents. So I guess so like in a month's time, we can work on extensive documentation.
Awesome. Another one just came in. It's Karen, but thank you, Karen. I'm curious what parts of this Manuel is most excited about himself. So what, with 10-stack start and all of the ecosystem that it's starting to create in community, what are the types of things that really get you excited about this?
I mean, it's the full stack type safety that we have. So it's just like, and the fact that everything of that is inferred. So ideally, when you write a 10-stack start or 10-stack router application, you have one type that you need to annotate if you use a router context, where you need to tell the router, this is the type that your router context will be before you define it. But after that, you never ever need to write TypeScript, like assert any type or like fill in some generics, because we do it for you. And that's just,
if the library authors do it for me, I'm hands off. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, we do lots of stuff behind the scenes, and I mean, it's one thing that I learned when I worked on that thing here, is that having the types in mind when doing API design is crucial to make this happen. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, then you just, at some point, you just don't have in some inference context where you can just infer the type. So you need to have this idea early on that you want to infer everything, because later on you cannot bring it on.
Well, then you push your community to have to do a lot more digging to figure out how to create these types and pull them throughout the entire application too.
Yeah, and the problem is if you don't infer those types, then they are just probably forgettable, because then you have some defaults like unknown, any, and then you just don't get any errors. Sure. Or you can just make them lie to themselves, so that they can use the wrong types and outdated types. And yeah, that's just, then I mean, outdated and wrong types are maybe even worse than no types. So I mean, that's
yeah, I agree. I think it's really hard to we're in a weird realm of AI putting out a lot of what when you have to do that type creation yourself, you typically, I think a lot of developers, especially now, are leaning into AI for some of that piece. So like to not have to do that so unknowingly and be able to lean on people who spend way too much of their time worrying about these really intricate pieces, it feels a lot more comforting as the user of the framework. So thank you for all of your hard work.
And also interesting that you mentioned AI. I mean, we get this a lot. That people say, "Yeah, but ChatGPT doesn't know 10.6 start yet." And we tell them, "Yeah, of course. I mean, we even don't know really how the final and stable what the stable API will look like." So It's really interesting how the shift of the developer ecosystem is right now. That people rely so much on AI that they don't read documentation that much. I mean, we don't have that much documentation yet, but we hope that AI catches up soon when they crawl our site, and when we have the documentation that finally it will be there, right? And we are also like trying to make the LLM.txt thingy working as soon as possible, so that we actually help the AI to crawl correctly what we have. But yeah, ongoing.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the most interesting things that I've seen with like within Netlify, and Sean Roberts will actually be speaking to this a little bit later. Being able to bring context in that, like previously companies would make a lot of examples. They would have the examples repo, then they would have to keep the examples up to date because that's the only thing people could see, like live coding for the type of project they're building. And now it's like you can really curate the type of content that you can feed to these like agents that you're working with. And so I think like eventually you just get to a point where you're like, hey, don't go read the internet because that's got thousands of forum posts that may be wrong. Know this document, use this document when creating new files and trying to help me out. And yeah, I think it's going to be really helpful for people getting started with Tanstack. So I'm excited to see the LLM.txt come out.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Manuel, I've got one more thing to ask of you. We're doing this remote desk. You're gonna see some things from me. Maybe I'll go first. So it makes it a little bit easier. So one of the things that we wanted to do was show something from the office, and people that know me, well, they know I'm a huge nerd. People that don't know me, well, you're going to see. So I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, right? And you think, why does he have a suitcase? Well, he's got a lot of decks in there. So these are my decks. If you were to like really like pull yourself out to a camera, you would see a really ridiculous desk with a lot of Magic cards on it. We're just going to show this. We're just going to show this for now. Nice little organization. So that's my thing from my remote desk. How about you? Do you have anything from yours?
Yeah, so I do have a small crown, which my daughter, which I made for my daughter because she had her first birthday some weeks ago, and so this is what I have here. Because I mean, there was a gummy, so a rubber band strap, because of course she wouldn't keep it on her head, so I removed that. But from time to time, I have this here.
That would have had to get removed from my big head for sure. It definitely would have snapped with this beard going. That is so cute. Happy birthday to your daughter. I love that. I'm going to let you get back to putting your kids to bed, having a good night. Thank you so much for the time you spent. And I'm so excited to dig in with Tanstack Start and see what else is going on in that ecosystem and community. So thank you again.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
See you later, Manuel. Taylor.
Hey. Yeah, that was
welcome back.
Really awesome. Yeah, I'm back. We're gonna get Sean Roberts up on the stage next. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how are you?
I'll let you introduce yourself real quick before we dig into context files.
Yeah, right on. I'm Sean. I am a distinguished engineer here at Netlify, and I really run our AI and AX programs here.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I know you were wanted to show us some today about using context files in like an IDE, AI IDE context. Do you want to share your screen and we can talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I swear we did not talk to Manuel about like what I was going to talk about, and that segue was only perfect. So this is great. So before I share my screen, I just want to kind of talk about a little bit of the why of we need to do this. Specifically, you're right, like LLMs have been trained on data from all over the place, not just our docs, but also forum posts or random dated, Medium blogs that someone wrote and so forth. And so, and today's our, Netlify's 10-year anniversary here. And so like we've been around for a while, and so we actually have a lot of old stuff that LLMs think are so relevant, or maybe we've improved a lot of things, and we need to kind of, with LLMs, it's not just about how you can teach it, but like there's a lot of unlearning that also has to go into it. And our only real control over that is providing context files. And let me start sharing this and kind of show what I mean there. Share.
Yeah, it was the other day I was actually working on an app in Windsurf, and it had this weird API error for the API that I was using, and it was because it thought it was 2023.
Yeah.
And so I had to like reinforce that it was 2024 because the app was specific for 2025. Like that was a relevant piece of data. But yeah, definitely some unlearning at times.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll have some people maybe write into support because they're playing this big thing, and maybe they've asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT sourced this, blog entry from like, 2015, and it's obviously no longer relevant. So it's like there's a surprising amount of unlearning. So on that note, like what we've helped provide developers who are using tools and agents to delegate some of the work on their behalf is context files. So if you're using Cursor, Windsurf, GitHub, you now have this ability to source these files. And we also have, just as a side note, we also have this, our LLMs.txt. So there's essentially 3 different ways that an agent is going to get this context. Either it's going to be automatic and it's going to pull some, it's going to pull our LLM's text file and kind of start indexing from there, or you have to manually provide it. In which case you would come to our docs page here, go to build with AI, and then you can, pull this context and then give it directly. Or you can use our Netlify CLI and do this automatically. And I'm going to show what that looks like. Let's jump over here. So
can you make your text just a little bit bigger, just so we can see some of the I know we're not looking at the code as much, but just I guess also for like the file and folder setup.
Yeah, I'll see.
I want to see that HTML, Sean.
The programming language. All right, so awesome. So this is, if this is our starting point, right? Like assuming that it's the first time you've heard of these context files and how you can get started. So like I mentioned, we can manually add this, or we can use our CLI and add this context. And so in this example, I'm going to use Windsurf to kind of do this whole thing and kind of show how that full flow works. And if we're using Cursor has this like Cursor rules directory that we can drop in and it'll automatically do it. But Windsurf doesn't currently have that. And so we're going to just do the default. So give it a custom location, and it's going to add it to this AI context section here. And then one more kind of special call out for Windsurf is they have this ability to add these global rules. And in my global rules, I'm going to make sure it's like, if there's an AI context directory, always look there for context. So this is kind of workaround around like not having to make sure you tell Windsurf and its agent within Cascade to do that. Cool. So now we're all set up, and this is what the docs are going to kind of tell you how to do that setup. But now let's try to actually make something. So I have a few prompts here that we're going to kind of give to Cascade, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to let this cook a little bit, and then I'll explain what we're doing. So we have this this website, this remote desk website, and I'm going to build out this feature for uploading an avatar. So just like an image, and then being able to see that on the page. So in this example, it's going to kind of actually have to hit a lot of different aspects of Netlify. We're going to do that live. Let's see how things play out here. So in this first prompt, I've just asked it to say, I have just HTML page, and we're just going to just accept all the changes. Let's see what it comes up with. In the background, I'm going to run the Netlify dev server and get that going. So my initial prompt that I shared originally, Let's go back. So this is the HTML page that it built out. So my original prompt was, give me, let's see, I need to zoom in more here. Create me an HTML file page that lets me upload an image. So this is what the agent came up with. That's awesome. Nothing specific to Netlify at this point. So like I said, our feature here is that we want to upload an image. So to do that, I'm going to give it one more prompt, and I'm going to say, it's in this one, it's just saying create an edge function for me, and I want to randomly assign a user ID and store it in a cookie. So this way, when I upload an image, I'm only going to see mine. If I already have one, we can kind of preview that. But this kind of pseudo making up an account structure for this demo. So let it go. It needed to create a new. It needed a Netlify Edge Functions directory. So it's trying to do that, and now it's going to run this, or starting to generate the code for this user cookie function. So when looking at this user cookie function here, we see that this is all the kind of latest syntax and things like that for using and writing cookies on Netlify. And it's also providing a config that is going to run for all paths. So we're going to keep all, and now we're going to run back over here, and we should be able to inspect and see. When I reload, we can see here that I have I know this one's going to be hard to see. You'll just have to trust me. We have a remote desk cookie now. So it just generated a random ID for me. So now I kind of have this like pseudo account structure. And now let's go into something, the really interesting parts here. So now we're going to have it update the site with an edge function that will be the API endpoint for uploading this avatar image. And it's going to store it in the Netlify blobs, which is our kind of blob storage. You can upload anything type of primitive. And it's going to do that also based off of the user. So like my user is ABC. I'm going to be uploading an avatar that gets, stored on my user ABC location there. So, I just killed that one. Hold on here. All right, cool. It's still cooking over here. And I'm just like super vibe coding this. I'm not reading all this stuff, so I'm like just gonna keep all. One cool thing to note about Netlify is like, especially this is something that comes up pretty recently, is Netlify has this concept of secret scanning as well built into the platform. And so like this whole idea that like I might accidentally ship a API key or something to production, we don't really have to worry about that too much on the Netlify side, because if I upload an API key as a secret, it has secret scanning baked in, and I don't have to worry about it. So
yeah, so I won't be able to like write to your Netlify blobs.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so it's still doing a lot. So at this point, I don't know what
it might be overdoing something.
Yeah, let's see. But let's go back here and see where we're at. So reload. Did my server come back on? No. Sorry, I was trying to be helpful and configure VS Code. It thought I was in VS Code. Oh no, it created an error. Let's see. So on this side, it's doing this incorrectly. So let's say edge functions come from at Netlify /edge functions npm module. Import from there. Cool. Let's see if it can get through this. Boop-a-doop-doop-doo-doo. And sometimes, sometimes the agent is like figuring stuff out. Like we already had a Netlify, or a package JSON here, so it's still trying.
I wouldn't know what it's doing, so I'm glad to know that it doesn't sometimes also know what's going on. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so it's running this stuff. Alrighty. That's better. That's better. Let's see if it's gonna do this right. Cool. It's still updating this thing, so I'm not sure it's really thoughtful about it.
Oh.
It didn't update it on all of them. So whatever. We'll just go boom. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's using my context. So this is a great example of it not doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So let's go back and let's see here. So I'm gonna go delete this, and I'm gonna delete both of these. Boom. We also don't need this. And cool, we should be good there. And let me make sure I did this right. So I updated my global directory here on this side. And let's see if we can do it again. So reject this, stop all this stuff, and go into a new one. Cool. So at this point, we're going to go back to having them do this. And just in case my global rules are not being currently used, we'll make sure that it's going to use this file for context. Cool. All right.
While it's doing that, what is like something that you've learned is like really important to have in those context files?
So like I had mentioned, there's this point in time in which, the LLM gets trained, right? And so like it knows everything up to that point. And then there's a lot of stuff that needs to be unlearned by that.
Yeah.
But like then there's all this new stuff. If there's anything new that was released after that, then you really need to make sure that those things work well together. And then you kind of find this like balance between like, okay, just through this kind of a lot of trial and error, frankly, and evals to make sure things are going well.
Yeah.
Real quick, now that we've kind of been more explicit, we can see when Windsurf is using our context here. Yeah. So now we should be able to see. It still made a totally wild guess here. So regardless, we could fix that, and then let's see what it did. So that's right. We have our Netlify toml here, and it's going to push everything there. Okay. So, and now we reload the edge functions. Let's see what it decided to do. It decided not to do this at all. Let me see here. I love live demos. Let's see here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. But regardless, if we look at let's look at the context of what we need to provide within these.
This is most useful.
Right, exactly. So within the context itself, we're able to explain like when the stuff is important to be used, and then whenever developers need to override the stuff, there's a clear space for them to do so. And then like the CLI and this various different tools won't remove that context. And then all of the rules inside of here are kind of what Netlify owns, right? In terms of like, we'll make sure that these are always up to date. And in this case, it's going to do make sure that you understand how the serverless functions work, how edge functions work, how background and scheduled functions work, how you use image CDN and variables, secrets, and so forth. And it will provide examples to the LLM around how to do correct syntax and things like that. So for example, on the edge functions, despite my inability to get it to work on the windsurf side, it does, like, whenever we like, it does understand what the latest syntax is. So that problem where we mentioned before, where it's like, we had this previous version of edge functions, LLMs were trained on that. Now we have this new version of it. This is that ability to make sure the LLM knows how to do this, and the agent can do that. And then, making sure that you can kind of boot it up into the editor so that it kind of processes that and processes it completely. So for example, I think the issue where we ran into here is that because we did this, we told it to look at this context file specifically instead of it being global, and it looked at the first 200 lines. But you can see edge functions start on this description at 300. So like it was still thinking very confidently and providing incorrect information. That's why context is important, and making sure that you load it in a way that it'll source all of that information as this kind of global context.
Yeah, I've definitely seen them go, like, windsurf go through a lot of times I'll like direct it just by itself to go look at the context files, and it goes through the whole thing. And it's actually really interesting to see then what it tells you it like got out of it. It really helped me, I know, with like Netlify blobs. It was better than like if I didn't have a context file when using Netlify blobs, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone has any other questions, feel free to throw in the Q&A. And I'll ask another question. Have you seen any like differences between the different types of like IDEs of like Cursor, Windsurf, GitHub Copilot, of like what context it needs, or are fairly standard across the board?
Yeah. So on the different IDEs, like, so there's only a handful of things that can affect these things. They're all starting with some sort of foundation model. Then they'll have their system prompt, and then whatever user provided context that they can provide. And so we have no idea what the user is going to say, and they can't control that. And really, the only control that an IDE is going to have different between each other is going to be what LLMs they decide to use. And generally, the user gets to pick those even most of the time. And then what their system prompt is going to be. And so, because we can't control and know all the system prompts, we really just focus on like evaluating and making sure they work against those base models really well, more in an automated fashion, and then work towards manual validation and making sure there's nothing on the IDE specific overrides of those things and their context that might conflict with information that we were kind of putting into the system or the Netlify specific context.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, if there's no other questions from folks watching, like Dom did in the last one, we want to talk about a random thing in our remote offices. Since Dom is already talking about ducks, I will, my random thing that I keep on my desk. Well, actually, I have two, and they like sit next to each other. I have a little, so my what I call my emo rubber duck sits on my desk, and so I have it there to remote. I also have one. It's kind of hidden. It's also back there, like a rainbow corgi rubber duck from Jason Lingsdorf. But yeah. So those are some of I have multiple ducks, I guess, scattered around my office. But yeah, what is a random thing from your office, Sean?
I think on the random little character thing is this. It's a positive potato. I don't know, it's too bright. But it says it's a positive potato, and I may be tiny. I may be a tiny potato, but I believe in you, and go do your thing.
I love the positive potato. We all need positive potatoes.
My favorite thing is this. Yeah, is the Muska board. This one's awesome. It's a re-release, and it's signed by Muska a few years ago, and so it's like my super favorite. And if there's any skateboarders out there, I also have a new Mike Mo one.
Skating at the next retreat, like, what's up?
I'm down. Like I'm going to SF tonight. So like I'll be there.
Winner takes all.
And I like how we coordinated the vans. Shout
I was about to say, we actually have the exact same style logo on right now.
Yeah.
Former Vans employee with like far too much van stuff. So
I'm sure.
Well, thank you, Sean, for sharing context files with us. I shared a doc in the chat that people can go check those out. And yeah, I'll hand it back over to Dom.
Thanks. Bye, Sean. Bye, Taylor. I was about to say, is he just going to leave me with that picture? Welcome back. First of all, you saw me chatting a ton about like how kind of I've engaged with the context file, but like AI in general when coding. And I think like there's still so much to learn, and there's still so much more attention that still has to get, paid while you're coding the vibe. Because sometimes the vibe is off, right? And you got to know when the vibe is off, right? Like, and you can see, I think even the most talented developers still find themselves kind of slipping up when using AI, because it's really hard to read all of the context in which it's trying to gather to make the thing happen. And so there's still a little bit of human in there, we just got to guide it so nicely. So quickly, I'm going to move right into our next demo. Another phenomenal just engineer person, yells probably the most out of everybody that I know inside of Netlify. We have a we yelling channel and just caps lock all day. And it's some of my favorite messages to read. So without further ado, Karen, come on up. You like how I summoned Karen? I don't know why I summoned her, but that did happen. Karen, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Please introduce yourself. Give me what you're doing. Show me about the demo. Tell me more. Let the fans know what you're doing.
Oh my God. So my name is Corinne. I am a Dutch. I don't know why that's relevant all of a sudden. I'm Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands. I see
it's because you sound cooler than my New Jersey accent. I think that's fair. I think that's relevant.
I work at Netlify. I work on our team that works on extensions and our SDK and Netlify Connect. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about that.
Gigantic brain on this one, I promise you.
God. Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Yeah, should I just jump in?
Just dive in the deep end.
Oh God. Okay, I'm organizing some screens. You know how it goes.
Just
okay.
Show the backstage. I think that's the most fun part.
Yeah, right. Like I loved when that happened. That was great.
Yeah, and I'm all capsing in the chat. Yeah, of course.
All right, perfect. So yeah, we've had quite some live demos. I don't do that. No, I'm just kidding. Normally I do, but in this case, I thought it would be easier if I just record some stuff. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about extensions. I might be biased, but I really love this part of Netlify. Not just because I work on it together with the team and I have like the opportunity to work with amazing people, but just because I think it's really fun to work with partners. And yeah, it's been really cool because last year we launched our second version of the SDK, which was a big deal, especially for me, because I got to go to San Francisco and meet all of my great colleagues and announce it on stage. So that was really cool. And yeah, since we did that, we have been building extensions and we've had a lot of partners that build a lot of new extensions. And right now I know that behind the scenes, people are building more extensions with partners, but also, and this is the thing that I kind of want to talk about today, is that our customers are also building extensions. And I think that that's really cool. And the little demo that I'm going to show you is actually not a customer that built an extension, but it's one of my colleagues, Ramon. He at some point thought, you know what, it would be really cool if I could block any crawlers from crawling all over my website, and there must be other people who feel the same. I felt the same because I love AI, but some things I would like to just keep for myself. So he built this user agent blocker extension, and Netlify thought this is great. So we just published it as an official extension, but I'm just gonna show you how it works. Just so everyone can get an idea on extensions and how you use them. So let's see if this video works. This is always a good question. All right, so if you want to install an extension, you just go to our extensions directory in your Netlify account, and here I'm going to the user agent blocker, and just click install. That's it. After this, you go to the site where you actually want to set your settings. I'm going to Chic Starlight, which is one of my favorite little names. And in the sidebar, you can see the user agent blocker. Now, something that I think is really cool, and I'm going to pause this for a bit, is that the first version of this was just blocking these user agents. The second version was, you know what, let's just add some analytics. Why not? So it's pretty cool that you can actually see what has been blocked in the last 7 days. So how do you use this? Well, I mean, I think in this little video, I first just turn everything on. And this is also another great thing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Ramon. He's really, really good at thinking of these kind of features. He made it so that you do not only like add the robots.txt file, which is like one of the ways that you can block crawlers from crawling your website, but not all of them might respect that. So we're also just allowing the possibility to just say, yeah, okay, you didn't respect this, we're blocking you actively. So using edge functions, we can block those user agents, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, I'm just selecting a few crawlers to say, no, you cannot crawl this website, and then I'm going to redeploy my site. So from this point on, this is done, and my site is protected. And here I also enable the analytics. Now, when I recorded this video, I didn't have enough time to actually like collect the data, but I also collected some data beforehand. So if you do have this on a site that has this running for a while, like this one, you can see that it's actually been blocking quite a few agents. In my case, my site is not like, doesn't get a lot of traffic. And it's also nice to see that some of the traffic is not on the user agent. Like that's nice. But it's really cool to see that this is actually doing something for my content on my website. So I'm really excited about this extension. And I think the reason why I'm mostly excited about this is because of the fact that this was just someone who thought, I can build this, and they did it within a weekend. Most likely not even spending the entire weekend doing it. And we've seen quite a few customers of ours actually doing the same thing, where, you know, even though it should be super easy for you to already deploy your site on Netlify, there will always be these custom things that you want to do, maybe for yourself or your team. And I think it's really cool that you can just make your own extension. We've seen customers who are trying to move from this like really big and complicated way of working to a more simplified way by just making extensions to enhance their CI/CD workflow. And you can also, if you wanted to, you can make something that we call data extension. It uses Netlify Connect, where you can just put a bunch of data sources into a connector, and it will provide you with a GraphQL interface, and you just grab all of the data with this one endpoint. I was talking to a customer last week, and they set up a lot of Slack notifications using an extension. So the developer tooling and custom workflows were in that like what they described, I was like, wow, that seems intense, but for them it works, you know, and I think that's really cool. So we're really seeing the developer tooling there, but there are so many other possibilities, especially I think the performance and security can be really cool. We have this CSV extension that a lot of people are using. And I just love the fact that it's like a click of a button and it works. I guess I'm just here to say, try build extensions. Like I want people to tell me, hey, this part of the SDK, can you make it better? Like that would be awesome. I think that would be amazing feedback. You can build so many things with it. So I'm really here to kind of like invite everyone who's watching to try and do it themselves. And something that I think is really cool is that if you've made something that works for you, it might also be really useful for other people. So we've made it possible for you to share your extension so other people can install it and use it. So yeah, this is really exciting for me to share with all of you that you can do that. So there's one thing though, Dom. We've been working on something really cool. And I cannot share too much. Like everyone will learn more about it very soon. But we've been working on our own entertainment system. It's the reviews are coming in, and it's supposed to be great. So yeah, I'm excited to share this. Like, this is gonna be a thing, people. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. I really want people to start building extensions. So if you do, let us know. Let us know how you felt doing it. And yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, just a shout to that. If you find yourself building with extensions, or you've built something and you want to share it, tag our account. Feel free to tag my name on Twitter. I can, throw it up to the rest of the Netlify folk. I know that they're always excited to see kind of like out in the wild projects getting built. And maybe your boy will dabble in a little extension building over the next month or so. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something I do.
You should.
I might. I if I tell you I will and then I don't do it, I don't want you to loathe me, but I might. And it's a huge might. So thank you so much for the demo. I think extensions are such a huge and powerful part of like being able to connect the ecosystem together in ways that like typically is kept behind the door of whatever customer is building this thing, this like bespoke thing for their project and product. So really excited to see the growth of that. And I got to work with one recently with Auth0. So it was really cool to see the way in which the entire process can get looped into a really cool UI inside of the dashboard for the website that you're already maintaining as it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. That's really cool.
So I think I have to show another thing from my desk, right? Like that's the only fair that I do it with two people. So give me 1 second.
At first it was magic. Now the tension is really...
Just know that I'm always fully locked in. I am constantly in the metaverse. I am finding myself bored with reality. And this is where I found, honestly, no, this is really just like, people are going to laugh for having this thing, but like, it is the best plane ride you'll ever have in your life. It's the coolest plane. Nothing else. Every time somebody walks by me, they're like, oh, you can't, they do these things in front of me. And I'm like, no, I can see you while I watch my 300-foot TV screen.
That's awesome. Very
so
cool.
That's my remote desk. What about you? What do you got to share?
Okay. So I'll share my gopher. It was sent to me.
Why does everybody have cute things? I need one of these things.
Well, so I got this purely because one of my colleagues sent it to me, and there's a cuter thing though, and that is that it came with a drawing from his kids. No copyright. For me, so I cherish this a lot.
My colleagues just send me like angry messages, so I'm apparently doing something wrong.
It's because you're not building those extensions, Dom. That's why.
Darn it! All right, well now, like somebody said in the chat, those are my extension glasses. So now I'm gonna get into the Apple mode and I'll write an extension there. Maybe I'll put that out or something.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing off extensions. Again, I want to remind the folks watching, especially if you're watching this later, tag us in. Let me know what you're building, and I'd be happy to help if you run into any issues. Throw it up the ladder to the people who are way smarter than me, and also like get involved with the things that you're building and show them off to the rest of the company and the community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Bye. Taylor, hi.
Hey.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna pass it to you now.
Yeah, no, I mean, so those are all the demos we have today. I was just gonna like run down a few other things that we've like recently released, but we didn't do demos for today. But while I do that, if anyone has like, literally, we will open the floor to any Netlify related or I guess adjacent Netlify questions. Just since
you can ask questions about me. You can dig deep into my personal life if you'd like, but probably more fun to ask Netlify questions.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything you want to like share that you've recently built or something, like feel free to post it up in the chat. But yeah, just putting that out there before so chat and the Q&A, we'll be watching those. But
I'll keep my eyes peeled.
Yeah.
I promise.
So a couple things. So recently we actually released a new changelog at Netlify, and so some of these things are in that changelog. And here, I'll share a link just in case you're looking for it. And we have been like sharing a lot more things in that changelog than historically we have done. A lot of times it was, maybe only like major things got blog posts. This will get like more things added to it. But yeah, so going off of that, like recently released, like talking about like, going back to when Sean Roberts was talking about using like AI assisted programming with Netlify. Like one of the things we recently released is like a new API so that like an agent could access build logs. So if there's errors and things that need to be debugged there to make that process like better, that released recently. We've been releasing some new updates to when you like buy a domain or you're editing DNS settings in Netlify, which, pretty much everyone is, often putting a domain on their site. So, there's been a lot of improvements there, also including the docs. Docs have gotten a nice refresh in that area too. Other things, last week we shared, and this is less of like a product thing, but I think is pretty interesting, is like we now have there's been over 10 million sites built with Bolt.new and deployed to Netlify, which is like a ridiculous number of sites because this happened in like, I think 5 months. And so there's definitely interesting things going on with like our integrations with Bolt, and being able to use different Netlify like platform primitive things in the apps and sites that you built on Bolt, which is really cool. And so there's more to come there. And then the last thing I just wanted to call out related to that, we've been writing a lot more blog posts about agent experience and like, what does that look like for our sites and our apps going forward? That's why you might see that we're making sure that like you have a good experience when using agents and building with Netlify, because it would really suck like if you wanted to do that, but the experience is bad. Hopefully it actually helps you use more useful Netlify features that maybe you didn't know about before, like blobs or other features. And then the last thing I just wanted to say before we wrap up is that today is actually, and I think Sean hinted to this, Netlify's 10th anniversary. So Netlify's been around for 10 years today. And there is a few little things coming out later on that. But one of them, if you watch on Blue Sky and Twitter and in social media, there will be a way. Yes, X. Twitter, X. The funny thing is I type in twitter.com and it just redirects. So
it just redirects. Isn't it basically the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. There will be a way to get some Netlify swag through that birthday celebration. You can go check out later. I don't have it to share just yet, but it is like coming out very soon. There will be a way. Yeah. That
was my keep your eyes peeled motion there.
Keep your eyes peeled. Yeah.
I hope people got that.
Like just like you're watching them.
I was about to say kind of I just want to make sure that you knew what I was doing there. Yeah. I am watching you, but that's besides the point,
Yeah. And there's a really like fun video coming out soon too that just kind of like looks back of like software development over the last 10 years and some of the things that Netlify's worked on. That's a good flashback that hopefully folks enjoy too. But yeah, so those will be all coming out on the interwebs. And yeah, I mean, any final thoughts, Dom, before we wrap up?
I think, so I've been back probably about 6 months now into the Netlify ecosystem and seeing the community and the things that we're working on internally, I think is really exciting as an employee. And I think something like this and continuing to do something like this is going to be huge for people to get a sneak peek into some of those things. So just wanted to say to you all, thank you all for showing up and dealing with my antics the entire time. So sorry that you have to deal with me more. Taylor, thank you so much. It's been so cool to, watch you throughout your career, and now get to work next to you is so amazing. And, to the audience, I have not found myself as excited to go on social media lately. It's not one of my favorite things to engage upon, but I found myself back in it a lot more often recently. And so if you find any reason that you're having a problem, building something, or you're excited about it, tag me in your threads. I'm excited to see those things. I'm excited to empower you to continue doing so, and to help you through any snags that you find. And I think a lot of our team feels very similarly. So feel free to tag us out in the wild, and we'll get to you, because I don't know. I think there's so many cool and exciting things that are getting built now with kind of the age of AI and all of the questionable things that I think people bring up. I think it's really cool to see people shipping, just constantly shipping things and looking for new ideas to ship. And I think we're in the best spot right now to deliver with that in mind. So yeah, just thank you all so much. And thanks for having me, and hope to see you all soon.
Oh, yeah, they want us to share our handles. Dom can share his. I'm Taylor_ATX on X, and taylorbar.net on Blue Sky. Dom's has his up there.
I got a cool little domain where mine's Dimitri.us.
See, that is cool. Yeah, I thought
Pretty
I was
freaking cool.
I came up with taylorbar.net over a decade ago, and I'm very proud of it to this day.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too, Dom. Okay.
I'm proud of you more.
We're just gonna go on forever.
I'll do this for hours.
We get off the
mess
stage.
with me. Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. What an amazing time. Can't wait to do this again. This will be a thing that we are doing consistently to, again, get what we're working on out into the community, see more of what y'all are working on, and get more demos. So, if you're out there in the Netlify community, you're one of our partners, you want to come and show some things off you're doing with Netlify, you got my handle now. You know where to find me. Thank y'all so much.
Bye.